Hi there, hello, welcome back. This module is going to be just mainly using ZBrush as the main content creation tool. But what I'm going to go do today is I'm going to go and show you a little bit like a quick starter guide of how to use ZBrush. We're going to do it very quickly, and I want to try to narrate and explain as much as I can. But it's going to be like an overall overview of how the software works and the philosophy and how it integrates with other apps later on during more videos. But this one now is going to be just a little bit of a rundown of the UI. Now, during the module, what we're going to do is we're going to be using ZBrush, and like I said, it's going to be used in context of more like a 3D iteration and 3D sketching app. Now, ZBrush has been around for quite a few years now. I started using ZBrush when it was version 3.5. That was 2009, 2010, and it's a very versatile software. It has come a long way since then. It's very good. It's the industry standards these days. There are other apps in the market which are one of the most renowned one, probably like Matbox, which is now part of the Autodesk family of apps. There is a new contender in the game as well, which is Blender. Now with the new release of Blender 2.8, they have added a lot of capability in terms of the sculpting side of things. As you may or may not know, Blender is a very well rounded software in the industry these days, and it's free. It's an open source software. Now they did some major overhaul of the UI and a major overhaul of all the tool sets, and now it is pretty much it's been supported by very high-end companies like Ubisoft, Microsoft recently, and they're backing up the software because it's quite good. And then that software, you can do anything. You can do modeling, just like Maya. You can do modeling, you can do animation, you can do rendering, you can do pretty much exactly what you can do in all the software. And as well, it has a module which is the sculpting module, and you can pretty much do things like the way we do it here. But again, ZBrush the one that is like the most used in the industry. So that's what we're introducing it here for you guys from year one, because this software is going to be pretty much used for you throughout the next 2-3 years. Even though if you want to do characters, or if you're going to be doing environment, it still is heavily used. So it is very important. That's what we introduce in year one, semester one, because it's going to be pretty much this software, and Maya is going to be like the two software, go-to software you're going to be using during the rest of your studies in here in Anglia. So first thing first, I want to say that obviously once you open the software, this is what you see. You probably will see with this pop-up menu coming out here. This is the light box. Now, if you compare this software with, or this UI with what you see in other software, this is completely different, right? So it's quite intimidating in a way, I suppose, because if you go on, you can click here and you can see there are menus within menus, and I think that's one of the fortes of this software, that it's highly customizable. You can do a lot of things with it. Now, if you want to do a sculpt as a first sculpt for your project, you're gonna be probably using about 10 or 5% of the tool set that you use here. So you can pretty much, if for example, if I'm gonna go through this more in depth later on, but if I, for example, open one of these preset projects, you're going into project and then double click on this, you will see this. And the way this works, for example, like going back about functionality, is that if you click here, you can see that there are tons of brushes. There are loads of them. So they're all placed here alphabetically. So it seems like, oh my god, how am I gonna learn all these tools or all these brushes? But literally, you can most of the sculpt that I've done in the past, I can do it with about 3 or 4 brushes, pretty much. It's just like you can customize it in a way. I mean, the majority of these brushes are one of these brushes that's been tweaked in a different way to give another a bit more of a different functionality. But it's like it's pretty much derived from 1 or 2 brushes. So there are loads of brushes. There are tools. You can paint, you can sculpt, you can move things around, you can pose things, rotate them, scale them. You can change material. For example, you can go here and say, well, this is a brush. You go the alphas, sorry, this is the stroke. You go the alphas. You can have a preset alpha. You can create your own alphas as well. Again, just don't worry, we're going to cover all this as we go along with the rest of the software, but for now I just wanted to see what is the software about. So just like the first look of of what the software is about. So don't worry about that. It's, like I say, it's a bit intimidating, but don't worry. So texture, you can as well, like you can paint color, and then as well here material, you can change the material. You can use the different materials, So normally we use just the gray one, the one I just chosen, and sometimes I sculpt with this one as well. So all these materials allow you to sort of see a little bit better the details in the character. Now, if I choose a light skin shade or just the gray, this one, which is the matte cap gray. Now, the way this works is that let's reinitialize set brush here. Just going to reinitialize it, say yes. So this is going to be pretty much as you guys open, you have this, nothing else, okay? Now, if you close this, right, and then you just click here and then you do this, you get this, okay? Which is pretty much, you say, well, this is quite confusing. This is not really a 3D software. Now, the ZBrush works under the sort of philosophy that it has something called the canvas, the 2.5D canvas, and this is what you're seeing at the moment. At the moment, I'm not in 3D. I cannot rotate. I cannot do anything. As long as I click here, I get a stroke. I can change this by changing an alpha, and then you can get this, you know, sort of look, you know. And this is like the 2.5D canvas. So I'm gonna press Control N. This is one of the new keywords for you. Control N is clear the canvas. You press Control N. Okay, you clear the canvas, and again you can continue to do this now because I'm using a tablet, a graphic tablet. I'm using a Huion graphic tablet. Now this software, I cannot use it with keyboard and mouse, and I strongly advise you guys do not use it, because the beauty about using a pressure sensitive input device like a Huion tablet or Wacom, the one we have in university, is that, you know, the harder you press, you see this is very light press, and then I press harder, then I get more depth, you see, and the more press I can keep building up. Now, this here, like I said, this is something called 2.5D, okay? It's just a fancy word to say it's a different mode working. Now, originally when this software was released, it was supposed to be for illustration, like sort of 2.5D illustration, which is you can paint color, you can paint X and Y, plus if you keep pressing, you're gonna get depth as well, okay? So, but obviously we're not gonna be doing this because this is pretty much, it's not an obsolete. I suppose that there are some uses for this, but we're not gonna be using this. So I'm gonna press Control N again just to clear the canvas. Okay. Now, if I want to work on 3D, okay, I need to use one of the tool sets here that you have within the software. Okay. Now, the first thing you need to do is, or the easiest way to work with this, just if you open the software again, let's open it for the first time, reinitialize. You press here into preferences, you hit this button, initialize set brush, and you press yes, and then it will pretty much clear everything out and it will go back to default. Now, the easiest way to start playing around with the software, if you go here into Lightbox and then choose one of these preset projects. These are just preset projects. You got things like spheres, a head, another female head, a male head, and one of these sort of predetermined. It's something for you to start playing with. You can just go into these folders as well, and you can see there are some things already in place there. This is a bit more advanced set sphere that we're gonna perhaps mention a little bit later on during the course. But for now, what we can do is we can just go in and start working on the actual actual project. So for this, I'm just gonna go to this simple one. So I double click here, and this is loaded. Now, you can see now this is already something in 3D. Okay, now you have this 3D. Okay, you see, and okay, click here. Just by clicking on the viewport here, okay, don't click on the mesh, just click on the viewport. You can rotate. Okay, now by default, every time you click here, you can just rotate on this. Now, the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to show you a little bit of the functionality of the UI. Okay, and then we're going to go through all the aspects of the software to go along. Now, just keep in the back of your head the 2.5D and the 3D, because I'm going to demonstrate what is what in a minute. Now, at the moment we're in 3D mode, okay, and you know when you're in 3D mode because this button is pressed, the edit button, meaning that you're editing a 3D mesh. Okay, so if you press Shift and hold, click here, Shift and hold, you pretty much like any other software, you snap to the sort of view. So you snap here, you press, click Shift here, and you go there, and then it goes to the closest orthographic view, and you press Shift, and it will snap there. You go there, you press Shift, it will snap there, and so forth. Okay, you want to do it back again, snap. Okay, you want to do that. Okay, and then if you want to frame, what you have is just like any other software. You press the letter F. You press F and it frames. Okay. Now, again, you press Shift, you can snap there. Okay. And you press F again, you can frame. Simple. Okay. We are here working on the 3D environment. Okay. Nothing about 2D. This little tool that you see in the corner here, this is a new integration in 2020, which is the Silhouette, I think 2019. And this one here is like a little gizmo that allows you to, if you click here, you can just move things already predetermined. Okay, and you can just move around here, and that's why they give you like a little bit of a overview. So it snaps view, similar to what we just did with the Shift. Okay, now we are here in 3D. Okay, now if I uncheck this button, edit, it will give me this warning. So the active mesh is currently in 3D mode. Would you like to switch to 2.5D mode, which is the 2.5D mode canvas? And you say yes, switch. And now, every time you click here, you see there's, I can keep clicking, but if I click outside, I'm trying to rotate something, I can't because it keeps drawing. Because I am in 2.5D, you see the closer I drag, the more I do this, okay? And again, I'm in 2.5D. If I want to clear this, I press Control N and I clear the canvas. But I have the problem that I'm gonna keep going doing this. Okay, again, I'm in 2.5D, so you can draw as much you can, as many as you have the patience to deal with, and you can keep it. It will be forever there. If you want to turn this into a 3D mode, you have to click the button Edit, and now you have the latest thing that you drew there is going to be in 3D, but all the stuff in the background is still the 2.5D. So you need to clear it, and then you clear it with Control N, and then you're going back to square one. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about I'm going to press F for now, just to frame it. When I'm talking about having things in 2.5D, it's because you're painting things in 2D, X, Y, and as well, if you keep pressing, you're going to build up in the third dimension, or the 0.5 dimension, which is depth. Okay. Again, if you uncheck this, you switch, you can see the more you press, you start building on top of another. You see, I can just have this like this, and I'm building all that on top of another. So if I have this like this, okay, this drawn in the viewport like it is at the moment, then if I then go into alpha, just to let you know that, just to show you how what the actual depth is. All these alphas are depth in a way. Okay, it's just like the brushes, just like the alpha brushes in Photoshop. But you can create your own from the viewport here. You can just go here into alpha, and then you just click here and say grab document. You click this button here, grab document. It does something, but here, look at this. So now here you can see that this, let me just hover there. So you can see when that pop out there, you can see now that I just grab the viewport and I turn it into an alpha. You can see it's a new alpha. You can see the things, the greater they are further away from the camera or closer to the eyes of the viewer. And then the whiter it is because it's closer towards the camera, okay, or the viewer. So I can use this. So if I leave this here like now, let's just now, and I'm gonna go here into edit. Now the last thing I drew was one there. You cannot see it, but if I press Control N, you can see that's the one. I press F to frame. I'm gonna press Shift to do that. Now, going back to the 3D mode, I can now use. Don't ignore this for now. I'm gonna show you later on how to use these brushes. But you press that right rectangular with this alpha. Now I'm using the actual alpha that I did to sculpt. Now you can see that the detail that I have there is a detail from those faces that we had before. So you can see, you can probably in this software create, I don't know, a brick or a pattern of brain. You can capture that and then turn it into an alpha, and then later on when you're sculpting a wall, you can use those bricks to just sculpt the walls, and it will save you a ton of work. So it's very versatile. Okay, you can use a lot of things within the software. Now let me reinitialize this, and it is a brush. Okay, so I can continue demonstrating a few other things. And I think the next thing we can work on is I'm going to go into select the same project, double click there, and then I have this. Okay, and I'm going to show you a little bit about the manipulation of the UI. Okay, so I press. So far, what we know is that we have Control N to clear the canvas, F for framing, and we have the Shift that we click here. You press Shift, you see it snaps to views. And you see. If I go there, it will snap to a sort of view towards the camera in steps, like, I don't know, 45 degrees or in this case 90 degrees. Okay. Now, if you want to maneuver a little bit better into the viewport, you need to have a few more shortcuts that you need to learn. So now, what's the first one we should know about? I think the first one we should know about is pretty much the Alt key. Okay. Now, when you do this without pressing anything on the keyboard, you just rotate. Okay, again you press it to this shift and it snaps. Okay, now if you press Alt, okay, click here, you can then pan the camera or move around things. You see, without Alt it rotates. With Alt keyboard shortcut, press here, then you can pan the camera. You can move left, right, up and down. At the same time, if you go here, you do press Alt and move, and then you let go of Alt, but without lifting the pen from the tablet, then you can zoom in and out. You do this. Okay. Again, I'm gonna press F for framing. Again, I'm gonna go here, press Shift. I'm gonna press Alt, move around, and if I want to zoom out, I let go of the Alt without lifting the pen from the tablet, and then I can just zoom in and out like this. You see? Very simple. Again, rotate, Alt, click and hold, pan, let go of Alt, you can zoom in and out. Okay? The key thing is when you press Alt and let go, do not lift the pen from here because it will not work. So you left the pen, it's there on the tablet, let go of the Alt, and then you start moving in and out, and you can zoom in and out. Okay? Alternatively, you can use these ones here. You go scroll, zoom, these two for doing the same, but they're very, I don't like those because I think it's easy to just get used to the shortcut. Now the challenge with this software is that it has a lot of shortcuts, okay? But once you get to know them, you're gonna be very efficient in your way of working. Okay? So now, again, so we have Shift. Okay, so press this, press Shift there, okay, press Alt, okay, and over there, okay, and that's it. This is pretty much what you need to know just to play around with the software a little bit, just to move around. Now, obviously this is very basic. This is just the beginning of this. Now, at the moment we have this model, and this is a model. This is just something that is there in 3D, but because we can verify that we're in 3D because we can actually rotate. Okay, if we have this button unchecked, we will be into the sort of 2.5D mode, and then we will not be able to do any of the stuff we're doing here because we will have just pretty much like a 2D canvas, 2.5D canvas, like Photoshop. You're just painting left, right, up and down, and then the ability, the 0.5 that suggests this naming is the depth. You paint the depth a little bit. Okay, so the harder you press, the more depth you're gonna have, and it builds up, and it's gonna be it's going to give you that illusion that it's actually depth into it. Okay, and I think we demonstrated here with this. You can see that if you go here into alpha, you can see that there you will have the whiter things are close to the camera and the greater are further away from the camera. Okay, again, you can create your own. You can create like a really nice pattern here, grab it, and then use it for sculpting. Okay, now what do I mean by sculpting? Because even though you can do these things in, for example, Maya, they're very limited. The tool set there for doing sculpting is very limited, and Maya is not very famous for having a very strong viewport. Now, the amazing thing about this software is the fact that you can work in the millions of polygons, you know? Obviously, as you go along with your lectures here and what you learn, you're gonna realize that obviously millions of polygons are not gonna be able to be used, I don't know, in a game because it's not gonna be efficient. Because all the rendering that happens in a game happens in real time, so we'll not be able to have a 10 million or 6 million polygon or character in the viewport because it pretty much will make the game crash or the computer crash because it's too many polygons to draw at the same time. Now the software is used to produce some sort of data, in this case maps. We're gonna see more along the next few years. That those maps are used in computer graphics to give the illusion that you actually have detail when it's not. And one of them is called a normal map. Just a keyword for now, but again, don't worry about it. You're going to learn about all that as you go along. So how do we see the topology or in terms of the amount of polygon that we have here? So one way to do it is obviously, if you check on these two items here, active point and total points, you can see here, this model here has 106,000 polygons or points. They call it going point, but it's just polygons. And this one here, you can see that you can sculpt in it. You can just create some detail. Okay, and the whole philosophy is that the more polygons you have, just like a 2D image in Photoshop, if you have something that is 1024 by 1024 pixels, and you have something that is 4K by 4K, then you will have more detail on the 4K than you will have in the 1024 because there's more pixels to draw. So the higher the resolution, the more detail you will have. The same here, the higher the resolution in terms of amount of polygons, the more detail you're gonna have, okay? Just gonna do something here quickly so you can see, okay? You can see what I mean by that. So if I take, I don't know, let's say I take one brush. Don't worry, we're gonna go through brushes later on. This is one of the presets. I'm going to reduce my brush size. I will let you know about that in the next few classes. So if I do this, you can see that I can start sculpting here, okay? Don't worry, we're gonna go through the rest of the things in here. You can see that I can start sculpting, okay? And then doing things here, I can just do this, you know, and just smooth this out, okay? Now, still I got 106,000 polygons, okay? If I choose another brush, I don't know, let's see one here that I like, which is the snake hook. So if I increase the brush size here, then I can just do this. I can just create some horn, but you see I'm stretching the geometry too much. It's quite messed up in here. So you want to see what the geometry looks like in terms of polygons, you can just click this button there. You can see this is the topology. So you can see I undo this, and then I'm just gonna go there. You can see the more I stretch it, the more I'm messing things up, okay? Obviously, if I wanted to produce more detailing here, then I have to have better resolution, okay? And we're gonna go through another methods later on, which is called Dynamesh. But for now, I'm gonna just resize this. You can see that now I have 115,000 and I reshape everything, okay? So I could, for example, just subdivide this. I go now nearly 500,000. Now I have 1.8 million. Now I have 7 million. So now, when I do details in here, I have more topology to play with, okay? You know, I can do some crazy stuff in here because I have now 7.4 million polygons, okay? So the more details I have in this, the better it is. Now you can see here that I'm moving, at the moment I'm moving here 7 million polygons, okay? You can see here that the computer doesn't lag at all, the software. So you can do this. I can do this, look. I can just rotate it, you can see the computer doesn't lag. And it has 7.4 million polygons. That's why this software shines, that you have the ability to work in a million. So if you have 7.4 million polygons, you will be able to have some really nice fine detail, like wrinkled pores and things like that. The things I'm gonna show you as we go along in the class. At the beginning I will show you some examples of work, but don't worry, we've sorted that out. Or it's already pre-recorded by the time I do this. So just bear in mind that this is just a very quick introduction, very simple. And then I'm going to stop it here because we are over 22 minutes here. And then I'm going to start recording the other bit when we talk a little bit about brushes and how to manipulate the viewport a little bit better. And then we're going to move on from there. Okay, so this is just the UI. I want you to get used to the UI. I want you to go here and start playing. I want to start playing with the brushes. Okay, and then we're going to talk about as well how to save file, what kind of files are we going to be saving, etc. Okay. So, and then we're going to talk a little bit about subtools, what the subtools are and all that. So don't worry, we'll cover all that. But for now, this is okay. I think this is just, it's over 20 minutes now. So I'm going to stop this now and I'm going to start recording the next one. And that will be probably another 20 minutes and then perhaps 2 more for the first week. And then we will be okay for the first week just to play around with the software, okay? Okay, that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much. See you around. All right, bye-bye.